Hello everybody, Daniel de Groot here. In this video I want to talk about what it takes to become a BJJ Black Belt. I'll take you guys back in time, all the way back to when I was a white belt, 2010, 2011, up to when I got to my black belt, which I received just a few months ago. For every belt I'll share with you guys what it was like for me, what problems I encountered, how I solved them, and I'll also give you the top tips for when you're stuck at that belt level. So white belt, blue belt, purple belt and brown belt. I'll give you the most important tips that helped me get through them. Make sure to keep watching to the end of the video, because in the end I'll give my top 3 tips for getting your black belt, the 3 most important things if you want to get your BJJ black belt. I covered a few of these topics already on my Instagram. I'll put a link in the description below, so make sure to check that out as well. Hope you guys enjoy. So just like everybody else, I started as a white belt. White belt is one of the hardest belts to get through. I started as a skinny 16-year-old and I was training with a bunch of grown-ups and they would kick my ass with no mercy. Funny thing is, these days some of these guys are actually training under me. I was working in a supermarket back then. As a side job I was working on the bakery, and one of my co-workers, Christian, convinced me to try out a BJJ class. He made a lasting impact on my techniques and my mindset. One thing I learned from him is not tapping to chokes unless they're really on, unless you're about to pass out. And I also learned some solid basics from the other instructors there at BJJ Rotterdam. I did have some knowledge about the sport because I played the UFC video game quite a lot. But putting it into practice against actual people was a lot more difficult than playing on the Xbox. My tournaments, I did a few, were not so successful. My best result I got was a silver medal, but in most competitions I'd get submitted pretty badly in the early rounds. That didn't stop me from training though. When I entered university and my friends started partying, I made sure to go to jiu-jitsu class as often as I could. Even on a trip to New York with my family, I managed to get some training in with the legendary Marcelo Garcia. He didn't teach the beginner class that I went to. I was still white belt, of course, but I learned a lot from studying his matches and his instructionals. I still use some of these techniques to this day. After a few years of struggling, I got my blue belt in 2013. So here are my top 3 tips for white belts. First of all, don't give up. Jiu-jitsu will only get more fun the longer you do it. In the beginning it's a big struggle, you're not getting anything done, but the longer you keep going, the more fun it will be. My second tip is to compete. It's a great way to face your fears, and winning or losing doesn't really matter. It's all about gaining experience at that stage of your jiu-jitsu career. The third tip is to create a routine. Make jiu-jitsu a habit. Even if you're temporarily busy with other things like your work or maybe family things, make sure to go to class at least 2, maybe 3 times a week, so you keep improving. I always compare it to brushing my teeth. I don't feel like doing it every day, but I still do it every day. It's a habit. It's not something I discuss with myself about. Really try to get those 2 or 3 trainings in. That will help you a lot in the long run. As a blue belt, I got my blue belt in 2013. I slowly and surely got more into jiu-jitsu. I started training every day, sometimes even twice a day. And in 2015 I started Erasmus BJJ with a training partner. It's at the Erasmus University, they have a dojo and we could use that. We didn't get paid, but they did let us use the dojo so we could do drilling and training in the morning. Slowly but steadily we built quite a strong group. That same year I decided to switch teams. The things I learned in class didn't really work for me. The gym was very self-defense focused, and in competition I was seeing things that I never learned in class. So I felt it was time for me to move to a gym that was more in line with my goals. Back then I was a student, so I could travel for free. So I went to Amsterdam, which is about 1.5 hours by train, 2 to 3 times per week to train at Checkmat Amsterdam. They're a really cool group of people. They love jiu-jitsu, they traveled a lot, they competed a lot. So this is a period where I started traveling more to compete, going to Rome, to London, a few other places, Berlin, and I got a lot more competitive experience. 2015 was also the first year that I traveled to Brazil, where I met my mentors, Thiago Abreu and Gabriel Hollo. When I went to their gym, it was not the first gym I visited in Brazil, it was the second or third. When I got there, it felt like home right away. Very cool gym, great instructors, friendly people. The city felt a lot safer than Rio, so it was like love at first sight at the House FC. As a blue belt, I also learned how to do a proper straight ankle lock. Thiago Abreu came by to teach a footlock seminar in Amsterdam, at Checkmat Amsterdam, and he showed his footlock, and it's been a major part of my game ever since. As a blue belt, I also finally started winning some tournaments. First in 2014, I won the Netherlands National Pro, started winning some local competitions, and also had a pretty decent run at the 2017 Europeans. I won 3 of my fights by submission, and then I lost the 4th fight by 2 points right before I would have reached the podium places. So here are my top 3 tips for blue belts. First one, find a gym where you feel at home, where the people have similar goals as you, so you can help each other get better. Just because you started in a certain gym doesn't mean you have to stay there. Pick a gym that fits your goals and where you feel at home. Second tip, persist. I didn't win anything until I had my blue belt for over a year. So it doesn't really matter if you're not winning in the beginning, it's all about persisting, keep going, and eventually the wins will come. Third tip, blue belt is also a great time to get a broader perspective of jiu-jitsu. So make sure to travel a bit, go to seminars, go to high-level gyms abroad to broaden your horizons and to learn everything there is to know about jiu-jitsu. Purple belt. In 2017, I received my purple belt from Thiago and Gabriel, right on the day I came back to Brazil. From that moment, things started to click even more. I started to make a name for myself. I started winning some big tournaments. I also went viral because I tapped a black belt twice my size at the Dutch Open. And in 2018, I became the first Dutchman ever to win the Brazilian Championships. This was a no-gi. And in 2019, I became a European no-gi champion. For the last few years before this, I'd been living in a nice house with some friends, I had my own big room, but now I kept traveling to Brazil so often that keeping that room wasn't a good option. So when I was in Brazil, I was living in the gym, and back home in the Netherlands, I moved back to my dad's place in a 2x2 meter room. I worked side jobs to pay for training, traveling and for competitions, and next to that I was also finishing my master's degree. After some good conversations with my coach Thiago, I decided that I wanted to make a living from jiu-jitsu. I started creating content on YouTube, I built a website, and my main form of income quickly became private classes. Towards the end of purple belt, I finished my master's and I stopped working side jobs so I could focus 100% on jiu-jitsu. So my top tips for purple belts. First is to study matches, either live at the competitions you're going to or later studying the videos. There's a lot to learn from watching the best guys compete. Second tip for purple belts, find a mentor. It helps so much if you can find somebody that has walked the path that you want to walk, so he can help you get to where you want to get. Third tip, if you have big goals, you have to make sacrifices. Of course, it's nice to live in a big house, to have a place of your own. But if you want to reach your jiu-jitsu goals, sometimes you have to make sacrifices. That can mean living in the gym, sleeping on an air mattress, going back to your parents' place. It's not always a fancy, pretty lifestyle you see on Instagram. Fourth tip, especially for the people that want to make a living out of jiu-jitsu, start making content. Make videos on Instagram, on YouTube, and start offering private classes. Build a brand and make sure you have something to sell. Private classes worked pretty well for me. Brown belt. In 2019, I got promoted to the brown belt in Brazil. I immediately started working on leg locks and I had some decent runs at the no-gi Worlds, at Europeans and some local tournaments before COVID struck. During COVID, I trained with a very small group of my most fanatic students in basements, in living rooms, offices, even a ranch, you name it, we found somewhere to train at. I focused mainly on no-gi. And that paid out. I won a few no-gi tournaments, I beat some big names, and I came in 4th at the ADCC trials. Jiu-jitsu was also finally paying the bill, so I could move out of my dad's place. We have a car now, I live in an apartment, and during that period I also reconnected with Patrick van Dalen and we started Checkmate Rotterdam, which I'm sure you will hear a lot more from in the coming years. My top tips for brown belts, teaching is like training, so the more you do it, the better you will get at it. Tip number 2, find a way to train. Even when it seems impossible, like during lockdowns, there's always a way you can still keep exercising, keep working out. Third tip is to surround yourself with like-minded people. Try to keep negative people, keep haters away from you. Just make a nice circle of people that help you reach your goals and you can help them reach their goals as well. Black belt. After about 11 years of practicing jiu-jitsu, I received my black belt from my coach Thiago Abreu. He came to Rotterdam to teach a seminar, to teach a training camp, and he gave me my black belt there. All my students were there, my family was there, so it was an amazing moment. And so was the journey. towards the black belt. I enjoyed every bit of it. From sleeping on a leaking air mattress to becoming a European champion, and from 10-hour road trips in cars that are way too small to finally eating after a weight cut, and from big losses to big wins. It was all a really cool experience. But as they say, the black belt is only the beginning. I have a lot left that I want to accomplish, both as an athlete and as a coach. Now, enough about me. I'll give you my top 3 tips for if you want to be a BJJ black belt. Tip number 1, don't focus on the destination, focus on the journey. I didn't train Jiu-Jitsu 11 years because I wanted to get a black belt. I trained it because I love Jiu-Jitsu. Tip number 2, surround yourself with the right people. It takes a long time to get your BJJ black belt, so better to make that journey with people you like. That means picking a team that fits you, where you feel at home. It means bringing your friends to Jiu-Jitsu, so you create a nice atmosphere of cool people, and also contributing positively to your team, so helping out, building a good team vibe. And tip number 3, probably the most important one, is to keep training. The only real secret to getting your black belt. Everybody will meet obstacles along the way, but that's the difference between a black belt and somebody else. The black belt kept going through those obstacles. The obstacles will differ, of course, per person. You don't have a say in that. You can't control what the universe throws at you, but you can control how you deal with it. If you find a solution, if you keep going, and that's eventually how you will get your black belt. If you keep training, there's no way you won't get your black belt. Alright guys, that's it for this video. Please let me know in the comments which belt was the hardest for you. If you have any questions left, also leave them there. If you like this video, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and hope to see you guys next time.